One of the things that the Republicans just need to go on and do now is burn the bridges, burn the ships, and go to war with the American press corps as a way to go to war with Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Because it is increasingly clear across media outlets, most members of the press corps are actually at war with the Republicans. So yesterday on the show, I talked about a conversation you had on the stage gathering about China, how China's already at war with us. China's already uploading malware into our servers for the power grid, for water treatment facilities. They're putting cameras on towers and windmills near military installations. They're buying land. There have been incursions of military-aged Chinese men in the country, some actually escaping China, but some maybe for nefarious purposes. They're monitoring Chinese citizens here with quote-unquote police stations. The Chinese are at war with us. The American press corps is at war with Republicans. Increasingly, the press corps, as its older members of the press corps have aged out and younger members have come in, they're social justice, activist-driven agents of change for the left. They have no desire to be fair in how they cover stories, and you see this across networks. I love CNN and have great relationships with people there, probably making a lot of them mad with this monologue. But CNN reporters and MSNBC reporters and New York Times reporters, the Washington Post reporters, the entirety of the National Press Corps leans left, has a bias towards the Democrats against not just Donald Trump, but the Republicans as a whole. And they have rationalized it as their problem is Donald Trump. And since Republicans won't stand up to him, their problem is with them. But let me give you just a case in point example here of CBS News. CBS News, when Donald Trump announced that he was going to go to war and demand no taxation on tips. This is how they tweeted it. Former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. That was June 17th. June 17th, when Donald Trump said no taxes on tips. CBS News puts up this tweet and story that if he does this, it's going to cost billions. It's not good policy. Now Kamala Harris has come out and said she doesn't want to tax tips. This is CBS News' tweet. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. How CBS News covered this on social media. Remember when Donald Trump was shot, Margaret Brennan on CBS News and what's her name on CNN were both lecturing Donald Trump on how you didn't make some conciliatory statements right after being shot. CBS News, particularly their social media agents, are progressives spinning things for the Democrats. But it's not just them. Just wait. So here's the conversation on CNN about the taxes. Just listen to this.
Top concern for so many voters. I don't know how much it will quiet the consternation from Republicans if she's not focusing enough on policy. Oddly enough, one of her first policy visions that she announced on Saturday in Nevada before the Culinary Union, which endorsed her, a major player in that state, was to eliminate eliminate taxes on tips for hospitality workers. And of course, the former president has been talking about that for weeks, so that's getting a lot of attention. But she's also been talking about
Wait. That's a national political correspondent for CNN. By the way, it's Nevada, not Nevada. That's a national political correspondent. One of her first rollouts is this no taxes on tips for hospitality and service industry workers, which, of course, Donald Trump has been talking about for some time. So wait, if it was a Republican who said that on television, I know because this has happened to me on CNN. If it was a Republican who did that, they would be interrupted and say, no, this is is it not notable that she's copying a Donald Trump policy? But you're not interrupting the reporter who's playing it off as this is her own unique idea. By the way, Donald Trump's been talking about this, but this is her policy position. You should be going to war with this, Republicans. It's not just that. This is a Washington Post reporter, who has White House access, who is upset that Elon Musk would have the audacity to interview Donald Trump. What Karine Jean-Pierre says in the White House press briefing to this reporter is not as important as the fact that a White House reporter had the audacity to ask this question.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, you have a Washington Post reporter, which is a news organization that is a propaganda outlet for the terrorist group Hamas these days. Remember, it's the Washington Post that was dismissive of claims that UNRWA employees were working as agents of Hamas. The Washington Post was dismissive of that. Turns out it was true. Washington Post said it wasn't. It was the Washington Post that was giving casualty figures in Gaza that they refused to note were coming from Hamas as propaganda figures, and only after public shame did they walk it back. It is the Washington Post that repeatedly publishes misinformation to damage Israel, make Hamas look good, and you have a Washington Post reporter saying, oh, misinformation, it's such a bad thing out there. What's the White House going to do about Elon Musk? You have a Washington Post reporter who, never mind the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, thinks that the government should have the power to censor Americans. In fact, it's worth playing Karine Jean-Pierre's reply.
Just talk about this many times from here, about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too. Look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally as it relates to the interviews, and that's something that I'm tracking, and I'm sure the president's not tracking it either.
Good for her to note it's not the government to step in there. Listen to Casey Hunt on CNN on this.
Donald Trump finding a new ally this election, billionaire Elon Musk. The two men are set to appear on the platform formerly known as Twitter, now X, later tonight for what Musk is promising will be a, quote, unscripted and no limits conversation. Trump is now getting used to the fact that Musk endorsed him shortly after the assassination attempt, even though he's been critical of SpaceX and the Tesla CEO in the past.
And I'm for electric cars. I have to be, because Elon endorsed me very strongly, Elon. So I have no choice.
Musk's rise as a Trump backer comes as X has turned into a haven for the spread of misinformation. Since buying the site almost 2 years ago, Musk's site has struggled to control it on topics ranging from the election to the assassination attempt against Trump. Sometimes the bad information has been boosted by Musk himself, who posted a conspiracy regarding the attack on Paul Pelosi in October of 2022 before deleting it.
Okay. So you got that? So let's go to war on Elon Musk for things he's done and said on the platform. Bad guy for sometimes taking the bait on his own platform. Remember, it's a platform for misinformation. Dun, dun, dun. So scary. So scary. This also was, who was it now? This was an Axios reporter who was Sarah Fisher from Axios. Listen to this one again. This is another conversation yet again on CNN about Elon Musk and Donald Trump talking.
Expect out of this conversation that we're going to see tonight on Twitter?
Well, for one, I think it's going to be a very lighthearted conversation. Because Elon Musk has come out and endorsed Donald Trump, I expect this to be like a bromance type of an interview where they're supporting each other. I think that Elon Musk will let Donald Trump speak all of the falsehoods and misinformation that he wants. I mean, he's not a journalist. It's not his job necessarily. Does he want to be fact-checking all of the information? So I think it's just a platform for Donald Trump to come out and say whatever he wants. But the thing to remember, Cassie, is like the interview audience here is what Donald Trump needs. You see J.D. Vance going on Face the Nation, right? Sunday shows, traditional media, because he needs to get his name out there. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump's going the opposite route, right? He's talking to streamers and podcasters. He's going on X. He wants to rally up that sort of fringe online base. That's what Donald Trump is doing here tonight.
You got it. It's the Fringe Online base. That's, by the way, where all the reporters are these days. They're on X. MSNBC, one more.
Ensuring that it's an immediate way to refute anything false, are the exact words he said. None of them carried one of those community notes, and begs the question, is he suppressing notes on his own posts so that he's not showing his own users? But it does appear clear that he's abusing his privileged position to sow disinformation that generates discord and distrust in the electoral process.
So the entire media now turning their sights on Elon Musk because Elon Musk has endorsed Donald Trump and Elon Musk allowed Donald Trump to come on the platform. If the media is willing to turn all of their firepower on Twitter and Elon Musk for his support of Donald Trump, Republicans should do the same. I saw Jonathan Martin, who's with Politico, nice enough guy. He's talking about how, he was citing a Jonathan Chait piece from New York Magazine, how actually the bias in the press favors Donald Trump. Now, here's the argument that they both believe, that bias in the press favors Donald Trump because they work to normalize Donald Trump, to keep him within the 40-yard lines so that he seems more mainstream than he actually is. You got to live in a bubble if you think 76 million Americans are somehow outside Normalsville, outside the 40-yard lines. They're to the outer edge in politics. Jonathan Martin, by the way, is the guy who wrote the piece back in February lecturing Republicans that you're crazy to think the Democrats would ever replace Kamala Harris. In fact, Jonathan Martin and the news outlets that he worked for went overboard in dismissing Republican concerns about Joe Biden. We've just seen 3 years of the American press corps covering for Joe Biden. They're now doing the same for Kamala Harris. They're playing up that Donald Trump slurred his words in his 2-hour conversation with Elon Musk last night. Pay no attention to Joe Biden slurring his words. Pay no attention to Kamala Harris refusing to answer questions. If you want to go after Kamala Harris, you should go after the media as well, Donald Trump. You should wage war on the press, burn bridges with the press. They already hate your guts. Burn bridges with the press, turn them into an object as campaign operatives of the Democrats, and repeat that over and over and attack them in your ads, showing how they tried to gaslight America covering for Joe Biden. And now they're doing the same for Kamala Harris, including trying to revise their own comments about her being the border czar. It is very clear from the CBS tweets about the tax policy on tips to the media's coverage of Kamala Harris's border czar. They are working overtime to protect her. They are the enemy. You might as well treat them as such. And when you attack Kamala Harris, highlight how her friends in the media are doing everything they can to lie, cheat, and steal for her.